and welcome to this channel. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. I hope y'all are having a great day. Today I was just going to go into a few filings in the court. There's some movement with Perez Hilton and Blake Lively in Nevada, as well as the judge came back with an order about the time extension that we went over yesterday. And then I just wanted to dive into a few articles and things that were happening within the courts of It Ends With Never and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Grab your emotional support lip gloss. Today I am using Burt's Bees all day because I need a little bit of extra hydration. And you are going in because we are in frame with Mandy Magnan. Now, I'm trying to get to this video and give you all of the tea that I, found out. But I have to say, first and foremost, and I don't want this to be like a downer or, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I've been coming to make this video for the last hour or two, but I've just heard the noise like everyone is hearing around the world that sadly Charlie Kirk has been shot and he's passed away. What is going on? I don't even know how to form my words right now. I think it's very scary. Now, do I think that Charlie Kirk and I had the same moral integrity and we believed in all the same values and our political beliefs were the same and completely aligned? No. I think the only thing that we had in common was our faith in God as well as family. And it's just very scary to think that because you have different opinions and political views and a platform that something like this would happen to you. He is a father and he was young, 31 years old. And now it's been reporting that he's lost his life because someone shot him at one of his speeches, one of his talks that he does at his table, Prove Me Wrong table in Utah. How frightening. And for anyone celebrating this death and his death because you have different political opinions and because his political agenda was different from yours, shame on you. It is free speech whether you like it or not. And it's just a very frightening world. And my heart is really, really heavy right now. And this is coming off the heels of a Ukrainian woman who was, coming home on public transit. And she was a refugee from Ukraine who left to start a whole new life and was in the most unprovoked way brutally attacked and lost her life on public transit. And as a woman who's alone 98% of my time and ride public transit all the time, and I'm always walking and going out alone, I'm just heavy-hearted a little bit today. I'll say my faith in humanity, although not completely gone, is definitely wavering. I don't know how we got here. And yes, I am Canadian, so this happened in the States, both incidences, and they continue to happen. And I don't know what the solution is, but definitely, I don't know. I just want to take a moment right now for these two people, as well as everyone else that is suffering today, and then we can move on. Okay, let's get to the episode, shall we? And I just want to say that, like, opinions and ideas are meant to be challenged, not persecuted, but challenged. And if you don't want your idea, your theory, your train of thought, your opinion, your belief challenged, then it's not really standing in a lot of foundation. Ideas are meant to be a way to have healthy conversations, debates, to create change, to see things from a different lens, to hopefully have a little bit more empathy, and to create change in the world. So to know that just because maybe Charlie Kirk had different political opinions and challenged a lot of ideas, that somebody thought that it would be okay to take his life, I find absolutely frightening with today's world, honestly. But okay. Right away, we're just going to go into the order from the judge. Okay, we're going to talk about that. So he came and made an order. We went over the time extension yesterday where they said they got over 80,000 things. It's going to take so long. We have to review them. Now Steve Swords' deposition is on the 15th, but we don't want to get his phone records until the 15th. What's very interesting is in that crybaby letter to the judge, they were saying, oh, we got over 80,000 pages. We need time to review all of this, and they're deficient. But it's like, well, how do you know if they're deficient if you just got them and you haven't reviewed them? It was all very, very bizarre. And yeah, that's very weird. But of course, the judge came back and he has denied the time extension for the signal communications. And I thought maybe that was going to happen just because, they didn't meet and confer, and it was like the letter was filed the same day they were supposed to hand it over the signal communications. But let's just go over that real quick. And I'm trying to pick it up here, guys. I know my voice is a little bit raspy. I'm a little bit down here when I'm speaking, so I'm gonna try here. But this was just ordered. This happened today, so this is an order from Judge Lyman. It's the Wayfair Party's move for a 1-week extension of the deadlines to produce signal communications for 4 custodians. So that would be Melissa Nathan, Steve Saritz, Brian Freeman, and Summer Benson. By order of August 27th, 2025, the court directed that the signal communications be produced by September 8th, 2025. The Wayfair Party seek an extension until September 15th to produce those signal communications. But the motion is denied. A scheduling order is an order just like any other order of the court. At least Judge Lyman wanted at least 2 business days prior to seeking a deadline, which the Wayfair people didn't do. The Wayfair people's motions was made on the evening of the day the compliance was required, with no representation that they attempted to meet and confer with opposing counsel, and no explanation why. If the court ordered its order on August 27th, they could not have moved to at an earlier time for an extension. Moreover, the Wayfair parties have offered no good cause for their delay. The signal communications were first sought in request for production served on February 20th. Plaintiff reiterated that request on July 16th, demanding production within 30 days. Moreover, in submission on August 11th, the Wayfair parties affirmed that they intended to produce signal communications. But then when they explained that the travel and the phone and having to lose their phone for like 24 hours and like there's so much stuff to go over, they're not going to be able to do it, is not a valid excuse for failing to have collected the relevant data, given that the Wayfair parties were on notice of the request for signal communications in February of 2025 and by July 16th at the very latest, and given that they agreed to produce the communications approximately 1 month ago. So they are ordered to hand over those signal communications. But like, if they don't have them yet, how are they going to hand them over? I guess they just got to rush it and do it real quick. He didn't say like when now they're supposed to be handed over. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Man, Blake Lively is really giving it to Perez Hilton. I'll tell you right now, it's so bizarre because all the other content creators other than Popcorn Planet, but even Megyn Kelly, I'm not sure where Candace Owens is sitting on it, but the other content creators who filed motions to quash, Blake Lively pulled those subpoenas real quick for those people. But for Perez, she is fighting tooth and nail. So this was a response from Blake Lively to Perez Hilton for the motion of clarification. And yeah, she's pretty much just wants all of the information, like whether it's in chambers or not, she wants it filed, okay? Blake Lively respectfully files this response to the motion for clarification and for a protective protocol governing any in-camera submission, assertion of reporter's privilege for request for written explanation regarding applicable law, and request for stay pending resolution. Ms. Lively takes no position on Mr. Hilton's request that the court issue a written opinion memorializing its oral orders at the September 2nd, 2025 hearing, but notes that oral orders are entitled to the same force and effect as an order reduced to writing. Ms. Lively files this response in opposition to Mr. Hilton's following 3 requests: permission to withhold from the court the identity of the individuals with whom he is seeking to withhold communications, a stay of his obligation to submit cost estimates from e-discovery vendors until after resolution of the motion, and 3, an order holding that the court will not disclose any material submitted ex parte to Ms. Lively. For the reasons discussed below, the court should reject all 3 remedies as devoid of legal support. Ms. Lively's cross motion to transfer on or for an order compelling Mr. Hilton's compliance. The court deferred a ruling on the motion to quash and cross motion during the August 28th hearing, pending a determination from the district judge overseeing the underlying litigation as to whether the Southern District of New York has jurisdiction over Mr. Hilton. After that, court found it lacked jurisdiction to adjudicate the subpoena. This court denied the transfer requested in Ms. Lively's cross motion and ordered the parties to appear for a motion hearing on September 2nd. The court also ordered Mr. Hilton to come prepared with a list of materials covered by the subpoena that can be presented to the court for ex parte in-camera review, and which describes the type, format, and volume of this information. The court also ordered the parties to provide supplemental briefing regarding whether and now privileges under the federal common law, including but not limited to the qualified reporter privilege, apply to this information by Tuesday. The afternoon on August 29th, Mr. Hilton submitted his supplemental brief confirming his view that the federal qualified reporter's privilege applies and that Nevada's journalist privilege is not binding but provides additional persuasive authority. On September 2nd, Ms. Lively filed a supplemental brief as ordered by the court explaining why federal common law, as opposed to Nevada law, applies to the question of privilege because the underlying litigation includes a claim pursuant to the federal court. At the beginning of the hearing on September 2nd, the court entered an oral order holding that the federal common law applied to the question of whether Mr. Hilton is entitled to assert a reporter's privileged, and, if so, whether it is overcome due to its qualified nature. The court explained that the federal common law applies pursuant to Rule 501 of the Federal Rules of Evidence because the underlying litigation includes a claim rooted in federal law. The court closed the courtroom to hold an ex parte conversation with Mr. Hilton during the hearing regarding the privilege log he had prepared. Ms. Lively reserved rights relating to the ex parte conversation, including to the withholding of any privilege log provided to the court ex parte on that day or in the future. So she wants to know what was done in the in-camera review and what was on the log. She wants it documented. After the conversation, the court ordered Mr. Hilton to submit to the court by September 8th 3 estimates from e-discovery vendors for the cost of engaging in a forensic collection of all of the repositories of information likely contained responsive information. The court also recommended that counsel for Ms. Lively provide Mr. Hilton with a list of suggested attributes for a credible e-discovery vendor, which they provided by email on September 4th, along with providing names of specific reputable e-discovery vendors. The court also suggested that counsel for Ms. Lively provide search terms to Mr. Hilton, which are attached hereto under seal. The court should reject Mr. Hilton's request to permit him to file a coded privilege log, whereby he withholds the identity of his sources from the court. Mr. Hilton does not cite any authority in support of his request to deprive the court and only the court of this information, including his assertion that courts routinely accepted coded privilege logs that omit names. Nor is Ms. Lively aware of any authority that empowers a third-party litigant to redact information submitted to a court in an ex parte and in-camera capacity. To the contrary, district courts act within their rights to require the unredacted submissions of material for such review. It is not clear how the court could assess whether the privilege is overcome, including, for example, the materiality of the information of the availability from other sources, if Mr. Hilton does not provide details about from whom he received that information. For example, whether Mr. Hilton communicated with one of the defendants in the underlying litigation or defendant's agent, including, for example, Brian Freeman, is essential information when considering whether Ms. Lively has demonstrated the three factors that courts considered when piercing the privilege. Mr. Hilton also provides no legal support for his invented three-step stage plan of ex parte review, and such a process would add additional unnecessary layers of delay and review. Mr. Hilton also asked the court to stay or hold in abeyance any further obligations until the court resolves the motion. Mr. Hilton does not, because he cannot provide any factual or legal support for delaying the process established by the court. The September 2nd order does not require the disclosure of any of Mr. Hilton's sources, and there is no reason why the process laid out by the court cannot proceed apace while the motion is under review. Finally, the court should also reject Mr. Hilton's blanket demand that the court prohibit disclosure of any in-camera submission to Ms. Lively. My gosh. Mr. Hilton ignores the ex parte in-camera review is extraordinary and should be limited to only instances where it is absolutely necessary. To the extent that any of the materials submitted to the court ex parte are not in and out of themselves privileged, there is no legal basis to deny Ms. Lively access to those materials. And then in the footnote, it says, Mr. Hilton appears able and willing to submit the content of his communications to the court and takes issues solely with the disclosure of names. If Mr. Hilton is able to and does not oppose the submission of a sample of underlying communications, Ms. Lively submits that doing so would facilitate the court's review and is in keeping with how courts often handle in-camera review. So this is a little messy here, but basically what Blake Lively is saying to the judge is she wants the judge to reject the coded privilege log. So the privilege log usually has all of, we've gone over privilege logs here, but it has all of the information and most of it's redacted, but you have to show like why these things are not going to be redacted or why they're in this instance, for his rights and sources and journalist rights. But Blake Lively is arguing that she can require unredacted in-camera submissions so the judges can evaluate privilege. So she's saying that there should be no coded privilege log when it comes to this scenario. She's also saying that the e-discovery estimates, let's keep them moving, because I guess Perez Hilton wanted to wait until all of that is done, the estimates are done, the judge reviews them, and they're saying, no. Let's not delay it. Let's keep going and, let's get this kind of over with. And she's also saying that there should be no blanket secrecy. So whether it's an in-camera review, whether it's ex parte review, those are very extraordinary circumstances and should be limited, and non-privileged material should be submitted and not withheld from Blake Lively. She wants it all. It does kind of make sense, even if he gave like a coded privilege log to the judge to see, right? And then the judge can look at the communications, and if he thinks that, hey, this is part of the case, or hey, you need to show this, or whatever it is, then ask for the unredacted file, or then order, Perez Hilton to give that up. But I can understand why Perez doesn't trust giving anything over in the courts or wanting Blake Lively to see it, but she really, really, really does believe that there are communications there, primarily, I think, with Brian Freeman. And yeah, we'll see what happens here. I mean, it's really up to the judge at this point to see how he wants to run his courthouse. But I think it's very, very strange that Blake is really fighting Perez out of all of the people, out of all of the content creators, out of all of the journalists, out of everyone that she subpoenaed. She's really, really coming after Perez. And to me, it seems a little bit more personal than it does like she thinks she's going to get something. I feel like she's really just trying to, at this point, waste everyone's time, money, resources. And yeah, I think at this point she has a very personal vendetta with Perez that she's trying to, settle the score a little bit. Now, I want to go back to this thing that Blake Lively filed about this other person accusing Justin Baldoni. I said it once when it came out, and I'll say it again and again and again. This had nothing to do with the courts. It had nothing to do with It Ends With Us. It had nothing to do with Blake Lively's claim. This was strategic, and this was for PR only, okay? This was totally for PR, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you can't use this in court. You can't bring up someone's past and use it against them. So even like in Cardi B, for example, in Cardi B's trial, her opposing counsel, I think they probably had it in the bag because they were going to bring up Cardi throwing shoes, water bottles, microphones, Cardi's past, you know what I'm saying? She's a baddie. And what happened was they weren't allowed to do that. The judge was like, no, you can't bring up any of her past incidences. It has nothing to do with this incident. And then that's where I think their case completely tanked. So the same thing here, and not actually Golden put it a brilliant way and kind of just said everything that I was thinking about it, because it was really like everyone that read this and saw this knew exactly what it was for. And I'm shocked that the Wayfair people have not replied to this yet. And I hope they do. And like I said, I hope it's total annihilation when they come out and address this.
But the TMZ article that came out late yesterday, or it was late yesterday to me because I was at work, about that declaration. The declaration that was attached to the sanctions motion was weird and sketchy to begin with to me, because there was absolutely zero legal or procedural basis for redacting the name of that person. Zero. So why redact it? And it seemed very irrelevant because, as I stated before and others have stated, it has nothing to do with sexual harassment or retaliation. It was at most that Justin had been like they'd had negative interactions with him on set. But when I read in TMZ last night that, they say it's an exclusive, it obviously came from the Lively camp, that this person who signed this declaration is absolutely going to testify that was the one, you guys. That just knocked me over with a feather. And the reason for that is there is no way in hell that a person who had a general negative interaction with Justin Baldoni or Jamie Heath or anybody at Wayfair would ever be permitted to testify about those incidents in a trial about sexual harassment and retaliation. Because in the United States, propensity evidence is not permitted. You are not allowed to introduce evidence that someone did something before as evidence that they did it this time. There are very, very narrow exceptions if you can prove in criminal cases like an MO. In a civil case, to get propensity evidence in, you basically have to prove that it was the exact same thing with the exact same words and the exact same, and even then sometimes it's not allowed in.
And the article that she was talking about was from TMZ, but as you can see, every single media picked it up. I mean, I screenshotted this yesterday, but even if you go today and you type in Justin Baldoni or Blake Lively, the same things come up. The same things come up, that there is a new face who's, what is it? There's a fresh face, fresh harassment claims. There's fresh harassment claims that there's another accuser. There's another accuser for Justin Baldoni. And what Not Actually Golden was talking about was propensity or character evidence. And in most courts, in general courts, most of the time, general character is not allowed. It's not automatically allowed. And it's just because a person in one instance shouldn't be judged or convicted based off how they were in the past or how they acted before. And this is kind of what Blake Lively was trying to do. And now a source from Blake's camp is saying that this person is ready to testify. Oh, right. Just like Isabella Ferrer was ready to come forward and all of the other people that you said from It Ends With Us. But where are they? Because this is clearly not about sexual harassment or any sexual misconduct, because it definitely would have been in there if it was. This was to create headlines. This was to, again, smear Justin Baldoni and the Wayfair people. I mean, yeah, do you know how many negative interactions I've had with people? Do you know how many times, like I've said this before, but like I worked with people and they love working with me and I love working with them. And then I talked to my other friend, I'm like, how was your experience? And they had the worst experience. Like, we're human beings, right? But this doesn't even know if it's a man or a woman. You don't know what the context is, what it's about. It was so vague. It's all redacted for nothing, which is complete baloney. That's how you know it was just for headlines. And all it says is, I had repeated negative interactions with Mr. Baldoni and his associates, including verbal abuse by Mr. Baldoni. Blank, Mr. Baldoni not be permitted on set during the majority of production as a result of those experiences. What? And then there's a whole bunch of redactions, and it says, I requested that he not be involved in blank marketing or public relations efforts. It's so nuts. And now, while I was trying to snoop around and figure out who this person was, which I don't think we'll ever know because it could be out of nowhere or not out of nowhere, I found this film that came out in 2024, Will and Harper. And now Will and Harper has who in it? Will Ferrell. But it was also produced by Justin Baldoni. Okay, Justin Baldoni was the executive producer on this film with Will Ferrell. Follow me here because there's something else. If we go to the cast of this movie and go all the way down, Ryan Reynolds. What? Ryan Reynolds, uncredited. I guess he played himself and he gave like some footage, but there's a lot of people in this movie. But I thought this was quite weird because look who else is on here. Colin Jost, Scarlett Johansson's husband. Interesting. But there's this movie, and what brought me to this attention was this picture I saw. Was this picture, it's a Getty image, and it's from the Will and Harper red carpet, and you can see Jamie Heath there and Steve Sarowitz. No Justin Baldoni. And this happened in September of 2024, it says. So they hit, look at that, TIFF again. So this was TIFF last year at 2024, but then they also appeared in Los Angeles on September of 2024. So this is a very interesting tell, and I only think maybe, I mean, I don't know, but maybe it has something to do with this movie, because do you remember Blake Lively when she was rambling on last week at her Glossy New York City Pop event for her Blake Brown business, she name dropped Will Ferrell. I'm just saying, maybe it's an Easter egg, maybe it isn't, I don't know, but just a few days ago, she's talking about Will Ferrell. Then this comes out. Maybe it could be him. I don't know. But then also, let's not forget this guy who came out and was very vocal about not having a good time working with Justin Baldoni. His name is Cody William Smith. He's a director of photography, and he worked with Justin Baldoni, and he wrote this when all of the stuff kind of all came out, I believe, in August when they were fighting, or in December when she dropped her CRD. I remember, but I don't remember exactly when, but it was sometime during one of the two like big crisis times. And I remember thinking, he's the only guy in like over 20 years that have ever said that he had a bad experience with Justin Baldoni. And thank you so much, Jill, for sending me this on Instagram. I love when you guys send me stuff. I was trying to actually find this and couldn't find it because I was like thinking maybe it's this guy, because this kind of like blew up when he came out and said it. It was passed very quickly. I mean, it just sounds like didn't have a good time. I don't know, but could it also be like maybe this guy? I don't know, but he wrote under someone's post, well, I haven't seen the film, but I do have to say working with Justin was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my entire film career. I watched him firsthand exploit the stories of people of terminal illnesses for personal gain. On that particular project, he treated the crew like trash. I honestly have a hard time thinking of someone that I've met who has been more disingenuous. I don't think I've ever met someone before or since who was capable of saying thank you and also simultaneously telegraphing to you that he did not mean it. It's been a decade or so, but yeah, he's been like this for a while, and it doesn't surprise me at all that the entire cast of a film is saying this about him. Maybe this is the wake-up call he needs. So it could be that they got a hold of him. Like, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of like trying to, work it out in my mind, but just some interesting things. And if it has nothing to do with sexual harassment, this is all a bunch of baloney, baloney, baloney. Now, some other guesses that people are saying are obviously Liz Plank. Hello. It could also be Liz Plank. It could be the man beater Jenny Slate. Some people are saying it could be Colleen Hoover, or it could be Isabella Frere. Now, I don't think it's any of the women that were in It Ends With Us. First of all, it was Isabella's first movie. In the footnote and in that memorandum, it does say it was on another project. I don't think it's Colleen Hoover. I don't think she wants anything else to do, honestly, with Blake Lively, in my opinion. That's what it seems like. And if it was Jenny Slate, you beat men. You've literally admitted on a radio show that you used to beat Chris Evans when he was your boyfriend. And if it's Liz Plank, she is a horrible, horrible woman. I'm being so serious, okay? She is a Blake Lively, like her and Blake, two peas in a pod, because Liz put on her little Instagram, when she started her whole she left Man Enough. After they brought her on, shared their hearts, their lives, their stories with her, gave her her biggest platform of her life on Man Enough podcast. She went and left when the New York Times article came out immediately, like she didn't know it was about to happen. Give me a break. Mean girls flocked together and started her own podcast called Boy Problems. Like, that's not a dig. Man Enough, Boy Problems. But then posted a video that she took down. But the internet does not forget. Let's take a look at this video. Now, I will say that she was real quick to delete this video after she posted it on all of her social media. So I am so happy it's resurfacing again. But this is Liz Plank going around the city sexually harassing men because, who cares? They're just men. I'm a woman and I can do whatever I want. Like physically grab men without their consent. Weird, right? Like, what a weird thing to do, just going around grabbing people, grabbing men, touching men's waist because they can't stop touching ours. Ho, is you okay? What are you talking about? So if these are your witnesses, Blake, Jenny Slate, who beats her boyfriends, Isabella Ferrer, who has said multiple things one time and then after hanging out with you says something else, Liz Plank, who goes around doing stuff like this to men, you're in trouble, girl. But it worked. It worked because all of the publications are picking up on it. Another accuser, another person testifying against Justin, another person coming forward. No, they didn't. It was all redacted. It was nothing. And it was for having some negative interactions. If you have nothing, just say that, because it's pretty clear at this point y'all are just grasping at straws. But we shall not forget how we got here. We shall not ever stop saying Vanzan until we get some answers. And this post made me laugh when I saw it, but everyone share, because September 27th is Vanzan Day. And it says Vanzan LLC is a proudly vague, questionably useful enterprise founded for reasons no one has ever fully explained. Specializing in alleged information laundering and shady paperwork shuffling, Vanzan has perfected the art of existing without doing anything tangible. Our headquarters, wherever the Wi-Fi is weak and the subpoenas can't reach, Vanzan LLC, because legitimacy is optional. I love this, and this is why we're here in the first place. Let's not forget, and let's keep saying it. We want answers to Vanzan. You can keep trying to throw shade at Justin. You can keep trying to smear him. You can keep trying all of your best ways possible. But until you fully explain how you abuse the court systems by starting a fake lawsuit in order to get a sham subpoena to give to Stephanie motherfucking Jones for breach of contracts, which she had no contract with you, to get phone records, which you already had in your possession and gave to the New York Times, which would otherwise then be illegal to use. Don't speak to us anymore. We want answers on Vanzan. You're shady, you're illegal, you're immoral, you're unethical, you're corrupt, and you're just so mean, Blake. You're a mean girl. You always have been. You're a Nepo baby that has never been told no. You have never seen adversity, violations, or anything in your life. You have been catered to. And your first sign that people don't like you, that they're not messing with you, this is what you do. You ruin not 1, not 2, not 5, not 10, dozens of people's lives. You unearthed, scorched earth. Because I guess, yes, you are Khaleesi, mother of dragons, but we all know how that ended. Have you seen it yet? The finale? Have you seen what happened to poor Khaleesi? And now there are some other articles coming out about Ryan Reynolds, how he's a changed man ever since this, and all of this kind of like baloney stuff. And it's like, yeah, you know what? When you go through things like this, you're going to change, okay? And maybe if you guys didn't try to take control of this movie and actually did the right thing from the start, Ryan Reynolds, like you literally screaming at Justin Baldoni in pre-production, claiming that he fat shamed your wife and then screaming at him again in front of a whole bunch of Sony producers. You're disgusting. You guys are gross. And then because your marketing plan failed, that you had to create up some sham, some fake apology for Wayfair to say, and you thought they were going to do that because you guys thought nothing of them. You never had any respect for them. You thought they were nobodies, that they were just going to cater to every one of your demands like they already had. You had them sitting in a freaking basement for their premiere. Okay? And then you took all of their text messages, you cut from them what you needed to paint a narrative which you still cannot prove. And you lied. And you've been lying every day since. Parading around. You know how hard it is to live a double life? Y'all are living the craziest double life I've ever seen. Parading around all these red carpets, traveling the world, going to Rex and Games, doing press interviews, going to Time. Both of you now, surprisingly, how strange, have been on Time this year. Interesting. Living this big Gucci life, right? Ballers, everything's fine. Yeah, we're the best. Power couple 2025. Look at us. Look at us. Look at you. Look at you. It will eat away at you. These lies, this deception, this manipulation, this second life. What you're doing in the dark will be brought to light. And what you've done to the Wayfair parties, all of the content creators, all of the other people subpoenaed, everyone that worked on this movie, everything, you're literally destroying people's lives. Karma is the greatest thing. But karma can also be the biggest bitch. And if you don't think that Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds will lie, steal, cheat, and do whatever they can to get their way, yeah, well, very interesting, because this week Ryan Reynolds finally reveals who leaked the Deadpool test footage. And guess what? He blurted this out and said this during TIFF just a couple of days ago, and he admits that he was the one that in fact leaked the Deadpool test footage. So he was speaking at the Toronto International Film Festival about the leaked footage that happened, and Ryan said, yes, I cheated a little bit, but I think I was onto something that people would be interested in, and I'm grateful that I listened to that instinct, and I'm grateful that I did the right, and I'm grateful that I did the wrong thing in that moment. Filmmaker Tim Miller produced the footage in 2012, creating a CGI version of Reynolds as Deadpool. The studio rejected the movie at that time. So what did they do? Because the studio said no, they leaked it. They leaked the footage, and when it landed online and when it surfaced, the fan enthusiasm was immediate, which pushed Fox to give the project a green light within 24 hours. Then he said, some a-hole leaks it online, and I'm like, looking at the guy in the mirror brushing my teeth, Reynolds said, finally admitting he was behind the leak. I was like, dude, what have you done? This could be punishable by law. But the internet forced the studio to say, we're going to make this movie. I mean, that tells you everything that you need to know. If he was willing to even go up against Fox, if he was willing to even do this for Deadpool, what were they willing to do for Blake Lively to get the franchise of It Ends With Us? Literally, their power and their manipulation tactics and their do whatever it takes, whether it's wrong or right, whether it's evil or good, they don't care as long as they come out on top. I hope the Wayfair people keep fighting. I hope we get some kind of response from this absolutely grotesque PR stunt that they are proving. I hope we get answers to frickin' Vanzan. I hope that there's some movement. But what I truly, truly, truly hope in my heart is that this doesn't break Justin Baldoni. That this doesn't break his spirits. That this doesn't change him. That this doesn't make him closed. That this doesn't lose his faith in the message that he's trying to send out to the world. That this doesn't halter his faith in any way, and that he remains to be open and healing and changing the world with such positive and truth-setting narratives. And I pray that Blake Lively doesn't ruin this man along with everybody else involved in this case. Because if you break him, Blake, a good man, honestly, if you break him, karma, you haven't met her yet. And I'm telling you, y'all, she could be really good, but she can also be really, really bad. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. There is nothing other than that happening in any of the courts. Everything's kind of still right now, so I'm sure towards Thursday and Friday there's going to be more. But definitely drop your comments if you guys have any more leads on who you think this could be, or anything that you're thinking about, or how you feel about Perez. I mean, oh my God, my heart goes out to Perez too, fighting this thing. And to anybody right now feeling heavy-hearted or suffering or just, in any kind of space, I am sending you virtual love and hugs, and you will all be in my purse tonight 100%. Okay, so hang in there, stay strong. The membership is now open, so if you want to join the channel, tomorrow we're going to be talking about goals. So it's the officially kind of like the first week, but it's the second video for goal setting. And yeah, you'll get a lot of stuff in there for more like staying grounded, motivational, inspiration, as well as entertainment that you won't get anywhere else. It's a pretty cool community that we're building. It's new, it's at a very low tier. It'll cost you way less than even one Starbucks coffee per month. So definitely check it out. Please support the community. And yeah, I will be here tomorrow. So I love you so much, and I'll talk to you then. Thank you. Bye.